Hey, what's up, everybody? We're back for another episode of Dawg Talk. We were successful with the first entry of Dawg Talk, where we did 1 week intervals apart. I think this is should come out on August 12th. So we'll see. I don't know. I hope this comes out August 12th because then that means we're going great with this constant upload schedule.
It seems like you guys like it somewhat. I mean, I don't know. It's getting a good amount of views.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, good for us at least. It's not getting like 1,000 views an episode, but it's not getting like horrible.
The last two episodes, we kind of talked about the Poodawg stuff a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So this time, we're talking about something different.
Yeah, and I'll introduce what that is. We are talking about the 1999 movie. Matter of fact, it just had its 25th anniversary on July 14th. Muppets from Space. I know that I have a history talking about Muppet movies and stuff like that, and I have like talked about this movie a little bit, but I don't think we've like went over it in detail ever. So that's what we're gonna do today.
Little known fact about me, I am kind of over the Muppets. Poodawg here has made 1 million Muppet things. He loves them. And I never really watched them when I was little. This is like, I think besides, I watched like Muppet Most Wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I watched the first movie when I was like a little baby. This is like the first like time where I've watched a Muppet movie and I actually like watched it and I was like, oh, that's a movie.
First time you knew what a movie was.
So, like, I don't know. They're not bad.
No, I agree with that sentiment. I agree with that sentiment. They're not bad.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks for your agreements.
But not only are we going to be giving our thoughts on Muppets Most Wanted, which we just watched, not Muppets Most Wanted.
Nah, bro. Muppets from Space.
Muppets from Space. Sorry, you were talking about Muppets Most Wanted, and it made me think about Muppets Most Wanted. I do like that movie. If people like that movie, then we can talk about that. But the reason why we picked Muppets from Space was because this, on at least like Rotten Tomatoes, we were going to use like Letterboxd to look at it, but that's kind of hard to judge because they kind of do an average of everything. But on Rotten Tomatoes, this is the worst Muppet movie like rating, and the only one lower than this is Muppets Wizard of Oz, which that's
I told him we're not watching that.
Yeah, he didn't want to watch that. He said his exact words were, "No, bro, that is going to be the Wizard of Oz, but worse."
Because it's just gonna be the Wizard of Oz, but if like Dorothy was Kermit, dude, I'm not watching that. I'll just go watch the regular Wizard of Oz.
Actually, Kermit's the Scarecrow. Get it right. All right. But
what did you think about Muppets from Space?
Muppets from Space? Yeah, I'll get into my review first. Muppets from Space. I used to think that this one was like my favorite. The little bits and little sections of random humor, I guess I'll say that. I really like those, and I can still like remember those jokes in my head like till this day. Like the thing with the rubber duck that turns them invisible and stuff like that. I remember Fozzie washing his hands to get that off. One of my favorite things about this movie is the fact that the Muppets live in a house together. I was telling Ethan this because, as he said, he's not a Muppet connoisseur like I, and this isn't like a normal thing. The idea of the Muppets, the Muppet frat house goes crazy, man. He said during the movie when we were watching it that it reminded him of Charles Xavier's Home for Gifted Youngsters. He said, "Why does it look like they're the X-Men?" And I never made that correlation in my head, but it's really funny to think
like
about.
How all these like weirdos just sitting around in one house. That's kind of what the X-Men is.
It's kind of the same purpose, yeah, I guess. So they don't have to live anywhere else.
No one else has to see them.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I always liked that thing, and I still liked it whenever I rewatched it. But I think some of the problems that I did have with it now, as someone who watches more movies than just like the Muppet movies is the fact that it's kind of just all over the place. Like, there is a plot and there is like heart to it, but clearly they wanted to do a bunch of bits, and I think it's because from what I remember, around this time they were doing Muppets Tonight, and that was a TV show for those of you who didn't know. So I feel like it could have been a little more scatterbrained if it was a TV show, and that was the vibe the Muppets had at that time. Also, by this point in time, Jim Henson had died. This is the third movie they made since Jim Henson passed away, and I think they were still trying to get back that momentum and heart and soul that Jim Henson was putting into those movies. Overall I really liked it. There was a lot of randomness, and the plot was very thin, with a lot of bits like making the runtime fluff up, which I didn't mind a lot of the bits. I don't know, like the whole rat thing was funny, and
the rat cage,
and then the bear Bobo was hilarious the whole time. Him and the Kermit rescue team, they probably carried the movie, because Gonzo really wasn't like Gonzo in this movie. He was kind of just protagonist. He wasn't really like having all the character traits of Gonzo, besides like in the beginning where he was like being really odd and everybody was treating him like a weirdo, which that's what he is a weirdo. But I don't know. I gave this movie a 6 out of 10. So what do you think, Ethan? What are your thoughts on Muppets from Space?
I also gave this movie a 6 out of 10. Like, as I said before, I haven't really watched any Muppet movies, so I don't know if this is like baseline Muppets, but I really liked the beginning scene, like you, where they were all in the like frat house. I felt like they could have just had the whole movie be just that. They didn't have to have all this other stuff happen, and I really do feel like the plot could have been so much better. Within the first like 5 seconds of this movie, not really, it was more like a minute, but I already knew what was going to happen. And then, like, at multiple points, you could, like, see what was going to happen, like, very easily guess it, which it is a children's movie, so. Yeah. But besides the plot, a lot of the characters were, like, fun, but it wasn't, like, a movie. It was more like a comedy type thing, where it's just kind of, like, they're showing off their bits and being funny and silly. Mm-hmm. That's what I saw it more of as. I mean, I don't know what you were talking about with Gonzo being weird, because I don't know what he's like, but Gonzo seemed interesting in this. He was still like a little weirdo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess they kind of, what I meant by that is they kind of pushed like some of the Kermit attributes onto Gonzo, like kind of just going to do his own thing. He is a little weirdo, mainly in the beginning, but once he gets to like the weird government place, it's kind of like he's just like, I'm gonna do this? Ah. But usually he's a lot better as kind of like a side character that'll just say a quip or something, and then you'll be like, oh, Gonzo. But
speaking of the weird government place, the weird government bear, the weird government general, and the weird government doctor were like the best characters in this movie. I didn't like the guy that was like, oh, Gonzo, I've been looking for you. The one who was the ambassador.
The freak Bob? Zongo?
Yeah, the freaky guy. I didn't like the freaky guy that much. He was kind of, I didn't really get what he was doing. I don't know.
He was just so freaky for Gonzo, that whole movie. I don't know. his aura.
It was very interesting. My Letterboxd review for this movie was literally like, oh, are the Muppets freaky? Because this guy said freak and freaky like 5 times within the hour and whatever this movie is.
And that has like a totally different like connotation in 2024 now.
I don't know if he knew what it meant, but he said it. The Muppets are freaky.
Kermit the Freak. Freaksy. Miss Freaky.
But
what are we yapping about?
Overall, I think we have like about the same feelings about this movie. I mean, it's not bad. It's not good. Like I would probably not ever watch this again unless like I'm with a small child and they like love the Muppets.
I feel like this is this movie you would want to kind of rewatch like YouTube clips of it a lot more. Like there's a
The
lot more like funny moments than like, oh, this is a really good story, you know?
the beginning of this is really the only thing that's like, oh, this shines, where they're just like kind of all hanging out. They're not really doing anything. They're just like living.
I love that though. I really do wish that someone would make a new Muppet movie and they would all kind of just like live together. That is probably like my favorite aspect of this movie. I wish they spent more time there.
It probably was doing terrible things to the budget. That's why they didn't spend any more.
Probably because they had to have like so many people just like in the background holding the puppets, doing random bits. I mean, that was another thing, because the whole introduction to Brick House just had like so many gags in the background. So you had to think of all of like, oh, we need to do this, we need to do this.
And then because they're puppets, like they would have them like in water and stuff. You got to make a whole new puppet if you want that character to show up after that. Once you submerge them in water, they're probably gonna get like ruined.
Yeah, I made a joke to you when we saw that scene where Animal sticks his head in the toilet. I was like, do you think they did it a few times before they did it they were like, oh, this could be the real one.
Maybe they just have a bunch of spare animals lying around. I don't know. Overall, these are like middle line movies. What do you think in relation to all other Muppet movies? Where would you put this one? Since you've seen them all, Mr. Muppet Man.
As far as the movies, I mean, there's only like 9 movies. So I think this is about like a mid kind of movie. I mean, it's not like the worst one, definitely. Like everybody's saying this is the worst one. I don't think it's the worst one. I still don't like Muppets Treasure Island.
You think Treasure Island's the worst one?
I think Treasure Island's the worst one. That's the only one I haven't like seen in entirety because I got bored watching it. I could see.
Watched that one.
Huh? We should have watched that one.
We should have watched that one then.
We should have, but we went with the public consensus. If you guys like this style of review, we'll do a Muppets Treasure Island one. I think the new strategy we're doing with this kind of review of a movie as a Dawg Talk is I'm going to pick a movie and then Ethan's going to pick a movie, so we don't watch like a million Muppet movies and then Ethan's like, yeah, I want to quit Dawg Talk.
I mean, hey, I'm not complaining. You know, I get to watch movie for free. So
yeah, that's true.
But we got a few other reviews here from other people as well. It's not just our reviews.
Yeah, that's... you want to explain what we're doing there with the other reviews?
So we're going to go through these other people's reviews and review their review. See what we think about it.
Yeah.
And kind of try and see if we can agree or sympathize with what they were saying.
Or see what they were thinking, you know, as they said that.
You know, maybe they were in a different place.
Maybe they're in a different place than us. Like, they weren't thinking, oh, I got to go review this on a hour-long podcast after. But, so I picked 3, and then Ethan found one that I liked. So he let me steal it.
He stole it.
So I have 4. Ethan has 4. We may not get to all 4. We're going to try, but, yeah, so I'll go first with one of my reviews since this was my pick for a movie. This is a review by DH. He gave this movie 1.5 out of 5 stars.
What do we think DH... Before we get in this review, what do we think DH stands for? I just got Dwight Hoover?
Dwight Hoover could be Daring Henny.
Could be Debbie Hathaway.
So DH posted on February 22nd, 2023... I really don't like Gonzo being an alien. Him being a whatever resonated with me and so many others, so I choose to believe this movie does not exist.
I don't really know what that means. Just because he's an alien doesn't mean he's not a whatever. Like, it's not really clarified in this movie what the aliens really are. They're just a bunch of other Gonzos.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like they went in and were like, oh, these aliens are they came from this planet, they evolved from this thing, they do this. It's just kind of like they showed up, sang celebration, and then left.
Yeah, I think this guy's, or girl's, problem with this movie is, though, that the whatever nature of it kind of lends to that, like, weirdo nature of Gonzo, so where he could be kind of just, like, whatever you want, and you could relate to that. If you're a whatever, you don't really fit in anywhere, but you got friends that care about you. I think that's what he's getting at. So he could relate to Gonzo, he or she, but they don't know. They don't want their little Gonzo taken away from them because he's not a whatever anymore, well, and they're not an alien, so they can't really relate to Gonzo being an alien.
Well, I mean, I suppose, but like, what is up with this person? Are they like a creature made in a test tube?
It could be a skinwalker, a homunculus.
Where else would he come from? Like the swamp? Like he emerged from the ground. He's a mole man. Like really, I don't know, like how an alien makes it that much different to relate to him, because he can still like live within all of your earthly issues and fit into your weirdness.
I mean, I could relate to like Cookie Monster if I want. I like eating cookies. I could relate to Cookie Monster. He's a monster. I'm not a monster.
Just because they said, "Oh, he's an alien," doesn't mean you have to give the movie 1.5 stars. I feel like that's a little crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they just didn't like the a lot of this, and this was just their like most. That draws the line. I'm not. I don't like this movie because of this one thing.
They took it too far with that.
Took it too far with this one. Gonzo being an alien? Nah, he's a whatever.
My review, I found that I actually heavily sympathize with this guy. It's from Justin Wilson. He gave it 2 stars. Watched it on January 23rd, 2020. Said, "For years, I thought this was called Muppets in Space, not Muppets From Space. I feel like the Muppets traveling through space would have made for a much more interesting plot." 100% I agree. I came into this movie thinking they were going to space. I thought it was going to be Muppets in space. Gonzo had like a dream or something where he went into space. And I thought that's what the movie was going to be. Like they were all going to be in space. But no, that was it with the space. It was just this one little dream sequence. I was very excited. I was expecting it to be kind of like a sci-fi type of knockoff thing. But yeah, it just wasn't.
I get that. I mean, it also is really weird because I used to think that it was called Muppets in Space too, and I would just say Muppets in Space and not really think about like what that meant. Because I had to correct myself when I made like the Muppet video a while back, like with the timeline, because I would type in Muppets in Space, but it was Muppets From Space, which makes more sense knowing the plot of the movie. But it also is really confusing too, because in the Muppet Show, there's a whole segment that's like ongoing throughout the whole series called Pigs in Space. Like they use the same format, but changed 2 of the words. I don't know. I
just feel like the Muppets in Space really would have been a more interesting plot than, oh, Gonzo's an alien from space, and these space creatures are coming to find him.
Yeah.
And the government is mad.
Or maybe the government could have been involved, but like shouldn't have been like the focal point of the movie. Maybe it could have been like the government's there, and then halfway through the movie, the Muppets get abducted by aliens, and then they go to space. But
or like
you were talking about the budget earlier in the brick house scene. Think about the budget and the Muppets go to space, dude. This is 1999.
It would be all CGI. I just feel like, imagine if instead of like all that happening, imagine if Gonzo got this thing and then built like a spaceship, and all the Muppets go with him to space, and then they're like driving around and encountering things. I feel like that would be interesting.
I feel like that could have been cool too, because then they could have done a lot of like gags in space or about space while they're like driving around. Phineas and Ferb did an episode kind of like that when they went to space, and they did a lot of like the cliche space jokes like cheese on the moon and stuff like that.
Because that's what the moon's actually made of.
Is that really what the moon's made of?
Yeah, it's made of cheese. You didn't know this?
I did not know this.
NASA released a study yesterday. Yeah.
Yesterday?
Yesterday they said we know this will come as a shock, but the moon landing's fake.
Oh.
The
sun admitted it?
Orbits the Earth.
Oh.
And the moon is made of cheese. Go on Reddit and look it up.
So I wasted a whole semester in college taking an astronomy class is what you're telling me.
It's all projected into the sky by the government, dude.
I'm so tired of these changing facts. I hope
Yeah,
that I hope this doesn't get covered up after we disclose this information.
we might have made it too public. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, Dawg Talk's pretty mainstream. Who knows? But anyways, I have another review. This guy from 9 months ago. His name is John Gesselberty.
What? I'm sorry, John, but what is that last name, dude?
I picked it because I thought his name was quite funny. I think I found this one on Google, like Google reviews. And he says, not one of the Muppet Crew's best efforts. It is amusing and watchable, but the effort at parody of science fiction movies pales by comparison with their own movies. They relied heavily on cameo appearances, and the funk soundtrack was only effective for the 90s and aged quickly, unlike their ageless musicals. In concentrating on the story of Gonzo, they tended to ignore the classic Muppet characters that are their real strength. Those familiar characters became little more than the human cameos. It was easy to lose interest as the movie progressed.
I agree with some of John's points, but definitely not all of them. Like, the soundtrack was really not that bad.
Yeah. It could just be a us thing. We could just be into, like, that kind of funk.
We could. I mean, I also don't really like musicals, so...
Mm-hmm. See, I feel like if you watched this and it was like a classic Muppet movie, and it was like a musical... I mean, every Muppet... This is the only Muppet movie without, like, original music. They only have, like... I guess radio music is the best way to describe. They have, like, that score in the background, and they have, like, randomly Earth, Wind, and Fire and stuff like that.
An unoriginal soundtrack.
An unoriginal soundtrack. I guess, yeah, that's the way to say it.
It's definitely amusing and watchable, as he puts it, but I don't really see it as a parody of science fiction movies. Mm-hmm. It's more so just like the Muppets' take on a science fiction movie. I feel like they could have done a much better parody.
Mm-hmm. Like the idea we were saying earlier, where the Muppets actually went into space. That could have been a cool science fiction parody. I mean, they did a lot of, like... This was after Star Wars, so they could have done a whole bunch of stuff about Star Wars. So, like, this was 1999, man. Wasn't this when Phantom Menace came out?
Yes, like, they could have done a lot more as, like, a parody.
I mean,
so I don't think it's really a parody. I think it's just their take on it. I mean, I do agree... Like, concentrating the story on Gonzo, they did ignore, like, some of the Muppet characters because it was kind of like as I saw it, like an equal mix of, like, Muppets and people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, honestly... Know, is that how all the Muppets are? I don't know.
A lot of the Muppet movies, they lean more heavily on Muppets than people, and this one does have a lot of, like, people in it. I guess because they spend a lot of the time at the... government place, but I was thinking this earlier. It's kind of true. They barely have Muppets in this movie. I mean, there's a lot of, like, people that act like Muppets in this movie. Like, they just do they have a lot of funny, like, character traits and stuff, but there's a lot more people in this than Muppets, and I think the reason for that could be because all the Muppets live together, so they kind of keep them all at the Muppet house. They don't really integrate Muppets into, like, society, you know?
Yeah, I definitely agree with his take that the movie becomes worse as it goes on because the strongest part of this movie is the beginning and the weakest part is the end.
Yeah. I mean, it's a cute ending. It's
cute.
Yeah.
But it's, like, I guessed, like... Gonzo's line almost like word for word at the end when he was like, "No, my home is here." Like, it wasn't very, I don't know. The beginning was a lot more interesting and a lot more fun. My next review is from Austin Kimmel. They gave it 3.5 stars on January 2nd of 2022. They said, "Whenever folks yak about 1999 being the best year in film, this is the one they're talking about. Cinema ended here. Be lucky there's more after this. Everything in the boarding house is perfect. Disney should just buckle down and make a slice of life Muppet show. I'd watch it. Loki fumbles the ball with the core of Gonzo's character, but that's fine. If the Muppets can be reporters or college kids, Gonzo can be an alien for a movie. They're just actors, guys. Let loose. Plus, this has the most Bobo we got in a Muppet movie. I love that guy. Team Bobo for life.
I agree with a lot of that.
Me too. I really like the slice of life type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't the whole point of like the first movie that the Muppets are making movies?
Yeah,
So
I mean that's what
wouldn't this movie inherently just be a movie that the Muppets are making?
Yeah, I mean I made a whole video about that like a year ago. About how some of the movies feel like Muppets like living their lives, but a lot of the Muppet movies are just like the Muppets putting on a movie. And they're not subtle about it. Like, there's a line in this one. I messed up that whole video. After rewatching this, I realized there's a whole line where Pepe's like, this is a Muppet movie. And, like, they're not subtle about them making movies. They are actors. This guy's right. But
so, like, the people saying, like, oh, Gonzo being an alien ruins his character. Well, maybe he's not actually an alien. Maybe that's just in this Muppet movie.
In this movie, he portrays
role.
an alien. Yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't ruin Gonzo fully as a character, but it ruins, I guess, if you take all the Muppet movies kind of as, like, face value, and you try to interconnect them into a big, like, Muppet timeline, which I will say I try.
Has done.
Like, someone who has done, someone in this call. Yeah, I guess it kind of does mess up his character, because like I said earlier, he's not as like wacky as usual, but this guy's got a point. This guy's got a point that this is they're actors, so they can portray whatever role in whatever movie. It's like if I made the Grunch in Space, and Ethan Johnson made his famous appearance as Gleepglorp, and Gleepglorp didn't act like Ethan Johnson from the Poodawg3 movies. Like, it wouldn't change your whole character, you know? It's Gleepglorp, it's not you. I guess the thing, though, that bothers people, though, about, like, the Muppets messing up their characters in movies like this is the fact that they are Gonzo. They are Kermit. It's like Kermit is playing Kermit. It's like Ethan Johnson playing Ethan Johnson, you know?
It's like, I get why it's weird for people still, but I do agree, like, they should, like, if they do something that, like if a character does something in a movie that people don't like, why don't people just say, oh, that was just them playing a character in a movie? That's not Gonzo the thing. That's Gonzo the actor in Muppets in Space.
Mm-hmm.
I really do feel like the slice of life show would be awesome.
Oh,
like,
I think so, too.
Them in that house, and, like, they just have, like, very minor things, like, Gonzo needs to, like, find soap or something. So he has to, like, go around. Like, I feel like that would be, like, an interesting show. Just have him go through, like, small troubles.
Like a Muppet sitcom, almost.
Yeah, like a sitcom, and they're all in that house. That would be awesome.
That would be sick. I would love that. Like, as a Muppet fan, you have come up with a good a good idea for a Muppet show. I'm surprised they haven't done something like that yet.
It's probably expensive to do.
I mean, they always try to do variety shows and stuff. I feel like variety shows could be more costly, you know?
I don't know. I wonder why they wouldn't do it. Maybe it's just they don't like the idea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I could watch a whole series, though, of the Muppets in this kind of world, you know? And, like,
you gotta get
world where they all live
name?
together.
Tim Waltz on your side.
Tim Waltz.
What's that? What's the director's name? I low-key forgot.
Tim Hill.
Tim Hill. Yeah, get him.
Is Tim Waltz the guy who's running for vice president?
My bad, guy.
Is that?
Yeah, he made this movie.
He actually made this. Oh, wow, that's crazy. I didn't know Tim Waltz was making Muppet movies.
He loves this movie.
Apparently. By the way, guys, quick side note on Tim Hill. I didn't know if any of you guys do this. This will come up in a later review that I have, but Tim Hill is responsible for such movies as Hop, Alvin and the Chipmunks, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie as a screenwriter, Sponge on the Run, and Garfield: A Tale of Two Kitties. Bro's resume is
Peak
stacked.
cinema.
Is stacked.
Peak cinema. And the crazy thing is, like, I've never heard of this guy.
Me neither. I've seen this movie. I've seen, like, most of those movies that I said, but I just never paid attention to the director.
I guess because the movies aren't, like, very serious movies, so people don't take him seriously, but he's not a bad director at all.
I mean, there's a lot of shots in here that were cool. I mean, like, honestly, the plot isn't, like, the best thing ever. Cinematography isn't horrible for a Muppet movie, you know?
Yeah. I want to know how they were able to move the Muppets' hands without the metal rods.
See, I feel like a failure as a Muppet fan because I don't know that answer for you off the top of my head.
And, like, how do they move their eyes? What are they doing?
The eyes, I'm pretty sure, is a mechanism, like, right next to the hand inside of the Muppet. I'm pretty sure, like, they like, squeeze their fingers or something. I'm pretty sure that's what they do.
This seems weird.
Like, I love that Gonzo can, like, open his eyes and make them, like, wider. That was always one of my favorite, like, Muppet quirks.
Well, no. There were some Muppets that, like, their eyes were moving.
Oh, like, yeah. Like Sam? Like the eagle?
Yeah, like the ball was, like, rolling around in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's the same kind of, like, mechanism, but it just, like, formatted differently. I don't know. Enough yipping and yapping about how Muppets are made. If you guys really like the Muppets, just let me know in the comments. Please use that comment section, and we'll make a whole video about how Muppets are, how they work.
If you like the Muppets, he'll make like 17 videos about the Muppets, probably.
Yeah, if you like the Muppets, there's a good chance I will be making a lot more Muppet videos soon, because I do also like the Muppets, and I've made Muppet videos before. I'll probably put a little card somewhere on the top of the screen. But anyways, this is now a review from December 20th, 2014. This was from IMDb and is from Plankton Rules. So,
big SpongeBob fan.
Big SpongeBob fan here. No wonder it's sad though, because he gave it a 4 out of 10, and that's sacrilegious to Mr. Tim Hill, who helped make the SpongeBob movie and Sponge on the Run.
Maybe they have beef.
Maybe he has beef. But let's see what Mr. Plankton Rules has to say. Aside from a super cool 70s R&B soundtrack, not much to recommend this one. Muppets from Space is not a very good film, though at least it's not as boring as The Muppets Take Manhattan. What? Oh, wow. Dang, man. Okay. I know this isn't a glowing endorsement, but the film is definitely among the least of the Muppet films. The plot is all about...
I'm not trying to ruin your reading, but what does that mean?
What?
This film is among the least? Like the worst?
Yeah, probably the worst. Okay. I'm kind of like not liking this Plankton Rules guy. I kind of like Cliff Notes this guy whenever I like read it, and I was like, oh, he's talking about the R&B soundtrack. I like that. Let me add this guy to my pile. Shouldn't have used this guy as one of my 4. Why did he say The Muppets Take Manhattan is boring? It is not a boring movie. That's a good movie.
I can't comment. I haven't seen it, but
yeah, you can't comment.
Believe you.
But Plankton Rules, you can't see me because we don't have face cam. But I'm coming for you, man. Don't test me. But I'm gonna continue with this review. The plot is all about Gonzo and how no one, including him, knows exactly what he is or where he came from in the first place. The film has a really cute prologue with Noah and Gonzo, but after that, it's a rather inconsequential film about Gonzo being sought by some stupid and very cliched government agency that thinks he's an alien. It's rather poorly written with very few jokes and very little heart. Additionally, many of the familiar Muppets are absent, and in their place are some very unappealing and poorly designed puppets, a few of which look really creepy. All in all, a film only for die-hard Muppet fans. Others would best see one of the good Muppet films, such as The Muppet Movie, The Muppets... What? Wait. Or Muppet Christmas Carol. You know it's bad when the best thing about this one is the cool 70s R&B soundtrack. Okay.
What does he mean if you looked really creepy? What is he talking about?
I think he's talking about the doctor guy. That guy's kind of creepy. He always kind of creeped me out.
Well, I thought he was meant to be creepy because he was trying to like kill Gonzo, dude.
Yeah. I think that was the purpose of that guy, but I don't know. I'm glad I picked this guy who gave it a 4 out of 10 because I agree with this guy like 0%. In fact, I might make my score higher because of this guy.
Only for diehard Muppet fans. I watched this movie, and I'm not a very big Muppet fan, and I thought it was pretty good. Like, I gave it a 6 out of 10, but that's, like, above average. Just 5 is average.
And saying that I don't know what he meant by saying a good Muppet film, and I don't know if he meant that in a demeaning manner. I don't know what his favorite Muppet movie is, but... was it supposed to be demeaning by saying the Muppet Movie, the Muppets, or Muppet Christmas Carol were bad? Those are probably top 3 Muppet movies.
No, I think he's trying to say that's the good ones. Like, others would be best to see one of the good Muppet films, such as...
Oh, okay. Fair. I misinterpreted that. I'm sorry, Mr. Plankton rules. That's my bad. You can dislike the video, Mr. Plankton rules, if you're watching.
I do agree that... See, we're getting mixed signals. Some people like the R&B soundtrack. Some people don't like it.
Yeah.
What's that all about? I mean,
we're on team like it, right?
I'm definitely on team like it. I think it's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
It gives the movie like a different... It gives
Vibe.
it its own kind of vibe. I do agree, though. I did not like the government agency that thinks he's an alien. But, I mean, I didn't think the Muppets were poorly designed or anything. I mean, they all were interesting.
I'm trying to think about some of the newer Muppets that were introduced. I think everybody in this is pretty standard.
I mean, there was 1 or 2, like, Muppets that were there that didn't really speak, that kind of looked, like, very bland. But they, like, didn't speak and were in the background of, like, the house scene and, like, one other scene. So, like, I don't think that's that big of a deal to where it needs to be like, dude, these puppets were terrible. Like, they were not
4
bad.
out of 10. Oh, my God, I hated this one. At least go 1 point up, man. Make it a 5 out of 10, dude.
He talked about Noah, which is leading into this next review I found, which is from... Claire... Wait, how do you say that name? Clara Curtis? I'm gonna go with Clara Curtis.
Yeah, probably. Clara Curtis. Yeah, something like that.
They watched on May 28th, 2024. This is the craziest review maybe ever. If I didn't already deconstruct my Christian beliefs, I would have after watching Gonzo get denied access to Noah's Ark. Why would I believe in a God that condemns my sweet, wonderful friend Gonzo to death? Sickening! ! So silly, so sweet. My cherished companions, made of felt, are a balm for my heart, on the good and the bad days alike. They make me laugh and cry, and fill my heart with so much joy. Gonzo's journey to a greater understanding of themselves is so beautiful and powerful, and pairs with the Muppets' signature humor wonderfully. They gave this a 4-star review, which is an 8 out of 10. This is an insane review. I don't really know what's happening.
I don't really know what we could talk about with the Christian stuff, but I'm glad you brought this to light because this is a crazy review.
I had to bring it up. I saw this. I was like, what is this? It's just, we're bringing up stuff for you to think about, guys.
Yeah,
That's
ponder this one a little bit, guys. Pause the video and ponder it.
You can think about it. I'm sure it's on the screen right now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't... I hope this person is doing good.
I hope they're doing well.
I don't really know what to say. I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention.
I'm glad. Yeah, I don't know. I get what they're saying. God loves all his creatures, but then again, that's Noah in Gonzo's head. So maybe that honestly says more about Gonzo. Maybe it says more about Gonzo. I don't know.
It's more about what Gonzo believes. He doesn't
Maybe
see
Gonzo
himself.
doesn't see himself as a creature of God, which is, I guess, that's sickening, but that's honestly depressing from an aspect of looking at it through Gonzo's point of view.
Do you think do you think when Tim Hill was making this movie, he was thinking about like the philosophy of like Gonzo?
He might have, and then right
Noah?
after he was like, "Wow, I wish I made a movie with Garfield as meets a richer version of himself. That would be awesome."
and then he made Hop.
Yeah, then he made Hop, but he still had that Prince and the Pauper parody of Garfield in the back burner in his head.
But do you think like he does this with all his movies? They have like deep underlying meanings, like
I don't know. Maybe we should watch all the Tim Hill movies that he was a part of and try to see if
But
there's
they're,
like a
like,
random like.
very like he doesn't actually elaborate on it at all. It's just kind of like you have to get it.
Yeah, there's like a random like reference to Christianity in all of Tim Hill's movies, and it says something about the characters that you have to like interpret on your own. Okay, so now it's time for my final review that I scrounged up. Actually, I didn't scrounge this one up. This was all
He stole it
Ethan.
from me.
He stole this one from me, actually. Yeah, I found this one on Letterboxd.
No, bro.
All
You
on
didn't
my
even
own.
Go on Letterboxd.
You're right. I went on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. But this guy is I don't know what I'm doing. That is their username on Letterboxd. They gave this movie a 2.5-star rating, which is a 5 out of 10. And they watched it on February 10th, 2024. This one tries a lot to differentiate itself from the previous Muppet movies, which is seen a lot with Tim Hill's style, the guy who made the cinematic masterpiece Grumpy Cat's Worst Christmas Ever. But I don't know. The humor is really hit or miss. A big lack of musical numbers, instead relying heavily on pretty annoying needle drops. Emotional moments, not really hitting for me. Good pacing though. I'll give it that.
This guy brings up a good point. Tim Hill is a cinematic mastermind. We went into this a little bit earlier with all of his previous works. But Grumpy Cat's Worst Christmas Ever? Gotta be top 10 movies of all time.
What's the Christianity implications to Grumpy Cat?
Well,
did he add those in? Oh, it's Christmas. It's Christmas,
Yeah,
you're right. No elaboration needed.
I don't know what they're talking about with the lack of musical numbers. It doesn't need it.
You don't think so?
No.
See, that's where a lot of people don't like this movie. A lot of people don't like the
Gonzo
lack of
sing?
music. He would be like, I am so alone and I am Gonzo. I am Gonzo. I am so alone and I am Gonzo.
I feel like his Muppet species, the Gonzoians, probably could have sang an original song instead of just being like, celebrate. Like, they could have just actually sang.
I like to call them the Gonzoids. I don't know if that's lore accurate. They're probably Gonzos. Maybe, would a plural of Gonzo maybe be Gonzoids? I would mess with that.
It can be Gonzoids.
I would mess with that. I mean, there's only one of him in, like, lore, so...
I find it interesting how, like, they are Gonzos, but his name is Gonzo. Do they all call each other? Like, does he named after his species? Like,
so that would be like if you just named your cat Cat.
I kind of did that.
Oh, you did do that.
My cat's name is Minou, which is cat in Cajun French. So
you can't really talk about the Gonzo thing.
I was just wondering if they're like all like that. Like, how did Gonzo know his species name if he didn't know he was an alien?
Yeah, I guess you're right. You got a point there.
That's all I want to know, because who told him this? If it wasn't another Gonzo,
maybe he was like shot out of the spaceship like Baby Superman, and then
they had like a note.
And they had like a little note, or like on the pod he was in, it said Gonzo, and then like Tadpole Kermit found it, and he was like, "I shall raise him as one of my own."
Do you think Kermit was a tadpole?
Yeah, I think that's canon.
I thought he would just be a baby.
A baby frog, like Robin, his nephew.
Yeah, like his little, like his, because Kermit's unk status in this movie. I freaked out when that happened. You just reminded me. That was crazy, guys. At the beginning of this movie, some little tiny Kermit starts saying, "Uncle Kermit." What?
It's not my fault you've never heard of Robin the Frog.
Kermit is unk status?
He's been unk status since the Muppet Show. It's not my fault you're out of the loop.
How do they come up with this stuff? Why is he not a dad? Where's
Kermit?
his brother?
You're right. I guess where is his brother? I don't know. I've never seen.
Why
I
didn't
remember
they just
that
make
lore.
it like Kermit's canonical son?
Because then he would have to have a kid, and then you would be like, well, who's the mom? But then he's got like the love interest with like Miss Piggy. So like I think that's why probably.
Do you think one day they'll have a frog with a P?
They did that before.
A prog?
Prog? I don't. I don't
How
know
did
what
it
they
come out? Was
a
it just
frig.
like
A frig.
a frig?
It was kind of just in like like not flashbacks, but I guess like fantasy scenes, or like thinking about what the future might look like for them. And Miss Piggy and Kermit talk about having little baby frigs, and I think baby progs too. But they're like a little green pig and a little pink frog, basically. It's like baby Kermit, but he's pink.
The biggest thing I agree with this reviewer on, besides the Tim Hill style being awesome, the emotional moments did not hit, bro.
No,
what
they didn't.
emotional moment?
Well, I thought they said that. I thought they said there was no emotional moments.
Yeah, that's what I'm agreeing with them on this. Like,
Oh, okay.
there was none, pretty much. There was like the little scene where it's like, oh, he's going on the alien ship, but like, no, he's not.
You know he's not. Yeah,
Because then
they're gonna. How are they gonna make another one?
Like when he started going up there, I guessed his line and what he was gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
It was because like before he even got up there, he kind of started like, you could see he was like not gonna do it.
It was also like
not
apparent
emotional.
because like they live in the same house together too. I think that may be
That
the
might
reason.
be why.
That might be why they live in the same house together, because Gonzo is, that's how he realizes they were a family. They've spent so much time together. They like live in a house. So he's a Muppet. He's not a Gonzo.
I like the maybe the most emotional moment was when the villain guy started like, "I'm not a loser. Don't make fun of me."
Nah, that's not the most emotional moment. The most emotional moment is when Animal breaks up with his 10-minute girlfriend.
I didn't even really get that. I thought it was more so like she just wanted him.
She wanted him, and he was like, "Nah, I don't want you, girl." And she called him an animal. Like all men.
Animal got other places to be, man. He don't have time for women.
Yeah. He
Not in this one.
he only knows drum. All he knows is drum.
Drum and drive car.
Drum and drive car.
He can't even talk right.
He can't. He talks good at the Game Awards though.
Dude, that's out of all the Muppets too. Why him?
Cuz I don't know.
Like you'd think they'd get Kermit.
Well, that's a whole different can of worms, Kermit, because Kermit he hasn't had like a good voice actor since like 2015.
Well, my next review, which is the last one we have, is from Elle. E-L-L-E. Is that L or is that Ellie?
It
I'm
could
gonna go
be
with
Ellie. Yeah, we can do Ellie, I guess. Sorry, Elle or Ellie, if you're watching. Probably not, but...
Well, they gave it 3.5 stars. They watched it August 28th, 2021. They said, it's Gonzo's movie, but in the first 5 minutes, Kermit walks out of his bathroom, adjusting his robe and tucking something away below frame. And someone, not Piggy, wolf whistles at him, and I thought about that the whole runtime. I don't know.
Did you?
I also just wanted to bring this to our attention. Because I didn't notice this.
I didn't notice this either.
So
I do I did notice the fact that it is Gonzo's movie, and there is like a big focus on Kermit in that opening scene. Like, you think that since it's Gonzo's movie, there probably could have been a whole... It's like a focus on Gonzo and... Not Gonzo. It's a focus on, like, Kermit and Animal for some reason.
Well,
like
they had the puppets. They wanted to use them, I guess.
I guess. I mean, I feel like there could have been showing Gonzo being, like, depressed in this wacky world around him, but I don't know. Maybe that was too depressing for a Muppet movie. Maybe that makes a little bit of sense.
I feel like what they could have done to make it better was just have it be like Gonzo and these other characters are coming around him. Like, have Kermit and Animal come, like, up to him and do stuff or, like, walk around him.
Mm-hmm.
But this is another person that I'm kind of concerned for. I don't know who's watching these Muppet movies, but if you go through the reviews, there's a couple... Well, not even a couple. It's like at least 1 out of every 3, if not more, reviews are kind of like... They're kind of these crazy people. I think this person might have hallucinated this scene. At least they might have imagined some of it, because I don't remember Kermit adjusting something below the frame and someone wolf whistling at him. I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either. I don't know. I know in the beginning of Brick House, there's kind of like a what or something like that. So maybe that's what they're referring to.
They might have just like not. They might have not realized that it was a song. Do you have anything else you want to say about Muppets in Space? Muppets From Space?
Muppets From Space? I don't know. I agree with a lot of these people in the sense that it's not like classic Muppets, but it is a new take that I kind of like. And I do wish that they would bring back the setting of the Muppets living in like a X-Men house together. I think that would be cool as like a series.
I think, like how that other guy put it, Muppet Slice of Life show would be awesome. Just
Great.
these little, because it's just like a cartoon at that point.
Yeah.
You don't have to have some like big plot.
I mean, that's all the Muppets are. They're the closest we can get to a cartoon in like the real world. I mean, that's why the Jim Henson Company makes all these like crazy characters.
Like FNAF?
Like FNAF, they make the FNAF animatronics. They made all those characters in the Dark Crystal. The Dark Crystal could have easily been animated, but Jim Henson said no, and he wanted to make a live action with full puppets thing. So that's kind of what the Muppets are cartoon characters, and I think the more zany they can be, the better. I guess this will be it for our review. We don't have any more reviews stored up.
Yeah, I mean, if this is how the average Muppet movie was, I would enjoy them. I feel like they kind of missed the ball very slightly on this one, just because the plot wasn't there. Which, I mean, it is a movie from 1999 made for like little kids, so I can't complain.
But the
too
thing
much.
is about the Muppets, though, it's not supposed to be meant for kids. It's supposed to be meant for like the whole family. You know,
they definitely like could have and should have made the plot a bit better. Even if you would have kept it like on Earth the whole time, like how the movie is, like have this government thing not be like a good like half of the movie is spent at this kind of just long hallway. I didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just I didn't like the government agency.
I mean, I really didn't either. It kind of just felt like an office building. That's probably my least favorite part about this movie.
Like, I feel like they relied on it, like, way too much. And it was, like, kind of the whole moving point of the plot. More than, like, Gonzo's talking to the aliens, I felt it was more like, oh, these, like, government people want to find aliens. And I feel like that is probably the biggest mistake this movie makes, is focusing more on, like, these people than focusing on Gonzo.
Yeah, focusing more on people than Muppets in a Muppet movie. I don't know. Not a genius there, but I think we need to focus on Muppets a little more, because I think that's the tricky part about anyone making a Muppet movie, is trying to find that balance between Muppets and people. Usually, the way I think it should go is that people should act more like Muppets if there's people there, and we should have a lot more screen time for the Muppets than people. I mean, Bobo was there like in every scene that the OG like Muppet cast isn't. But
and I mean, like, a good amount of the people at this government place acted like Muppets. Like the animal's girlfriend and the guy guarding the gate.
Like, they don't act like real people that you would see in, like, real life. They all act like...
They're like over the top, hyperbole people. But they're still, like, it focuses too much on them, I think.
Yeah.
Like, it's a Muppet movie. Have the Muppets be, like, the center part, because I feel like...
And then when it's really good.
There was, like, the three biggest characters in this movie was Gonzo, the little rat, I don't know his name.
Rizzo.
And, like, the guy who wanted to catch the aliens.
And then Bobo was just there as, like, an extension of the alien guy.
The alien guy should have been a way smaller part.
Like, I get it, he was the main villain, but, like, the main villain doesn't even get, like, a happy ending. And we don't even know what is the reason why he said that he hates when people make fun of him. I mean, that pays off later, but, like...
I think it's just because he doesn't want people... He has, like, a weak ego or something. I don't know. It's not even really elaborated on. It's just like, oh, it's funny, because, look, if you laugh at him, he freaks out. And that was, like, their whole bit they were doing with him.
I feel like they could have tied in, like... I mean, who am I to say what they could have done on this Muppet movie, but... I do think that they could have tied in the fact that Gonzo, which maybe we're stupid and we're forgetting this, but they could have tied in the fact that Gonzo was, like, feeling alone and nobody understood him to the other guy, which kind of happens, but you don't really see that until you, like, think about it a little bit, you know?
Like, Gonzo was cool with this guy. Like, really, this guy could have just, like, talked to Gonzo, and Gonzo would have cooperated. But this guy was just, like, literally comically evil and was like, no, Gonzo.
We're going to suck your brain out of your skull.
Which I feel like, I don't know, they could have done a bit better than just that.
Like, I really do think if he was, like, a character, which, not that I know of, I'm pretty sure a lot of Muppet villains are kind of not very nuanced, kind of just like, yes, I'm evil, see? Sure.
So maybe that's just how the Muppets is. I don't know. I don't watch them very much, as stated. But I just feel like it could have been better. And that's why to me it's 6 out of 10.
Yeah. I stick by the 6 out of 10. I feel like if I watch this and, like, I'm not going to have to review this, and I don't, like, pay close attention to the whole movie, and I'm just, like, kind of locked in.
It could very easily be, like, an 8 or 9, maybe even a 10 out of 10 if I'm, like, just goofing around. I really feel like they had this great opportunity with this, and this really hits a good mark of what the Muppets could be, but it just slightly misses it. I really don't see why this is the worst Muppet movie. And if this is the worst Muppet movie, maybe I need to go watch the Muppets, because maybe they're just actually that good.
That could be it too. That could be why people don't like this.
This could just be, like, the lowest of them. It's not a bad movie. It's just all the rest are just way, like, super good. So this one just kind of is like, I guess this is the worst one.
Yeah. Like, if I had to give it, like, a score in, like, as, like, a grade, I'd say I'd give it maybe a C.
It's not a bad movie. It's just, like, I'm gonna forget about it in a week. Like, it's no like, Oppenheimer.
Well, of
but
course.
It's not trying to be that. But, like, even a better comparison is, like, it's not like the SpongeBob movie. Like, that movie is, like, a cartoon kind of on an equal level with what I think the Muppets, like, audience base would be for this. And that movie is, like, so much more memorable. I feel like I can tell you right now what happens in that movie, and I haven't seen it for years.
Now, a lot of other Muppet movies do have that, and that, I think, leads into you saying why this could be rated so poorly, just because a lot of people, they don't like how non-memorable this one is and kind of bland, you know?
I think the only really, like, good thing about this movie was that intro scene. They had such a good idea with that. I don't know why they didn't just make that a movie. Like, the Muppet House or something. I don't know. Just have it be, like, focused on that.
Yeah.
And then you're
and if they really wanted to do space, take all the Muppets, like, Make the house
Put
a
him in a
spaceship
spaceship.
or something. That could be cool. But
Like, I don't know why they didn't just do that. That would have been a much better movie and probably would have been more memorable because it would have just been like, oh, it's just them like goofing around.
mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
You got anything else?
I don't think so. I think that's about it for Dawg Talk episode 3. Yeah, comment down below if you guys want us to make more movie reviews, because this was pretty fun for me at least.
All right, I got hate last time for my outro, so I put in a little bit of effort this time. I put on my thinking cap. I think this one's gonna really impress you. Okay.
Knock my socks off. They're already off, but try.
Thanks for tuning in to Dawg Talk. Come back next week and keep those tails wagging. What do you think about that?
I didn't know you were going to keep going with the tails wagging part. I thought it was going to end at, thanks for tuning in to Dawg Talk.
No. I think the tails, because it's dog.
Keep those
like
tails
dogs have
wagging.
tails?
It's not really like a pun or like a, well, it's like a pun, but it's not really like a rhyme or anything. It's okay. But it's okay. We'll work on that one.
Finally.
But I'll see you guys next week.